So, good afternoon and good evening to all of my LaRuelist Facebook friends. Here we are again. I say this every time we have a show, but I'm going to say it again. I am so excited about my guest here today. I have the question that I want to ask many of you. What would cause you to risk it all? What would you do to actually risk it all? You know, in this country, the United States, we talk a lot about diversity, we talk about equity, we talk about inclusion, we talk about equality, especially as it relates to who you love. And we're always fighting for equality in this country. But what if the country, the way the rules and the laws are, what if it was as if you fell in love with someone the same gender as yourself? And they said to you, well, you want to be in love in this country, a lot of different things could happen to you. You could either be in prison for 14 years, you could be beaten, or you could be made an example of to actually be killed in the streets. What would you risk it all for? Our guest today on LaRuelist Café is a couple who I have to tell you, I have just fallen in love with them. I had given my story, my Valentine's Day story, as many of you saw, and one of the guests inboxed me and told me how touching it was and how she admired me for the courage. And I noticed she had also sent me a friend request. And I just kind of didn't know yet. I was just a little hesitant as to who she really was. So I told her, I said, I see you sent me a friend request, but when I looked on your Facebook page, I don't see very much about you. And then she said, well, maybe this will help you out a little bit. And she sent me her LinkedIn. And when I read the LinkedIn, I started screaming up and down in my family room by myself because I had read this couple's story. I had seen a video, and I never thought I would ever get a chance to meet them. It's a Nigerian couple who fell in love with each other, got married in New York. They have been living in exile in this country. One is a doctor, the other is a real estate mogul, and let me tell you, you will fall in love with them as well as I did. So I'm going to bring them on, Moji and Martha. Come on into the studio. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you, Janine. First of all, we do want to thank you for having us on your show. It's really an honor. We're doing great.
Yes, we are.
Well, the honor and the pleasure is all mine. And as you two know, I collect glasses. That's one of the things I do. So I'm going to find a way to steal both of your eyewear because it is absolutely beautiful. And so, Margaret, you are the physician.
Yes, I am.
Yes, but I want our audience to know you don't want to be called doctor today. Today, you want to be called your name, Margaret.
Yeah, actually, most people call me Margaret. Very few people who really know me call me doctor. So yes, Margaret.
And Moji, we're going to have you tell your story as well. And we call you Moji. Now tell us about the last names because you've chosen a last name, and I'd like to hear about that.
Our last name is Solar-Wilson. I'm Solar and she's Wilson. So we figure we bring it together and create our own family as opposed to an extension of a Wilson or a Solar. So we're the only Solar-Wilsons alive, aside of the dog.
The only one. Now, what I would like the two of you to do, I want to start with you, Moji. I'd like you to tell your story. Tell us how you came to America, what your life was like when you first came here. How long have you been in this country? Just tell your story.
I came to America, I think I was about getting ready to be 16. My father put me on a plane, woke me up one morning and said, "You're going abroad." So I packed my little suitcase with my frilly little dresses and a pair of flip-flops. And we're talking about January in 1980 something, early 80s, 82. And I got on the plane by myself as a young teenager, never been abroad in the wintertime, so I had no idea what to expect. I showed up, it was one of the worst winters of the decade at that point. So I popped out of the airplane with my flip-flops on, and my feet were soaking wet. And one of the, I can never forget, one of the air hostesses brought me a pair of socks. So I put it on and put my tongue slippers on. It was ridiculous as heaven. And I showed up in my little pink frilly dress. I was freezing, but my host parents met me on the other side. They were both Irish, and they lived outside Boston. And, you know, I went to prep school in Boston, then went to university in Boston area. I started modeling when I was in college. So I came to New York, I think it was about 1987. I went to New York, I should say, and I was modeling for quite a long time, but I was tired. At one point, I got tired of modeling. Decided I wanted to have children, had my set of kids with a friend of mine that made me sign a piece of paper saying I'll never ask him for child support. So we did that. And then later on in life, I was about 36, doing very well in real estate. And the family pressure was crazy. When are you getting married? When are you getting married? So I ended up getting married to someone that I thought was a friend at that point. And we had 2 sons together. And I just didn't feel right. For many, many years, I didn't feel right with myself. I knew I wasn't attracted to men. I didn't understand what was wrong with me. So I just stayed in the closet for quite a while, tried to commit suicide 3 times. The 3rd time, I remember God coming to me and saying, and I say God, it might not be God. The guy was black, much older than any God I'd seen. Didn't look like God, but I believe it was God. And he said, I have so much more for you to do. And your life is worth so much to me, and I need you to not try this again. I need you to go out there and live your authentic life. Exactly in those words. So I started therapy. 6 months, 7 months or so down the line, I came to terms with the fact that I am actually gay. And then I went to my ex-husband then and said, look, I can't do this anymore. You have to go. And that was it. We separated. Everybody went their own way. It was a really hard walk. Cut the long story short, I was living my life. I think it was I came out 2006, 2009. I dated my first woman. It didn't work out. It was just, I just wasn't myself. And I kept doing what God asked me to do. I thought I was supposed to be a minister because I love talking, and people seemed to want to listen to me. So I went to school to try and become a minister. And it just, the more I studied the Bible, it didn't, you know, a lot of things just did not make sense. So I fully came out because God again came and said, I need you to go out there on social media and come out. So I'm like, no way. They're going to kill me. I'm Nigerian. There are no gay Nigerians because I never met one. Met a lot of, you know, Europeans that were gay, but never met a gay Nigerian. So I came out, I kept saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know. I can't do a radio show because I don't know how to do it. But Facebook was there. So I started to write on Facebook. And as I wrote, I attracted more followers came. And as I then, at one point, I started a radio show called Real LGBTQ Lives. I came out on the radio, on social media as well, and 45,000 people listened to me come out. And that was the beginning of a whole chapter of my life, with a lot of trolling and a lot of people coming to me for advice and people that were in the closet and things like that. But, you know, while I was doing the show, I bumped into my wife, and then 6 or 7 months later, we got married. A lot happened. You know, it was the most beautiful, beautiful thing I'd ever done in my life. The most beautiful human being I'd ever met in my life. And here we are.
Do we call this love at first sight, or what do we call it?
I think it's love at first hair. You know,
Okay.
and I say here because she had inboxed me 5 times, and I didn't see it. I used to have a lot of followers. And my mailboxes, if you're not friends on Facebook, the emails go to a different mailbox. So I didn't look at that mailbox in time. And I woke up 3 a.m. one morning, and something said go to that mailbox. So I went to the mailbox, and as I'm reading, I see this Margaret Wilson person had sent me mail 5 times. And I'm like, oh my God. So I sent her a text saying, hey, good morning. I'm so sorry I didn't inbox you earlier, yada, yada, yada. And she inboxed me right back. And I'm like, oh my God. You know, I felt bad because I thought I woke up. She's like, I don't sleep either. And then the first time Margaret spoke to me, I was blown away. You know, I in the beginning, I thought she was just another Caucasian woman. You know, I'm like, oh, that's all I ever get. You know, I want a Nigerian partner, but most Nigerians are in the closet. So it just wasn't happening. And then you called me that day and she said, you do know I'm Nigerian. I was like, whoa. I had no idea what she did for a living. Nothing. And a few weeks or months later, I mean, the first day we saw each other, I knew we were meant to be together because we just sat there and talked for hours.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, Margaret, tell me, so when you two met, you were already a physician.
I'm sorry?
You were already a doctor when you two met, when you and Moji met.
Oh, yeah. I had been a doctor for over 20 years by that time.
Okay.
Yes.
And did you know as a child that you were gay?
Yeah, I like to say, Janine, that I knew I was gay before I knew what the word was. But it was just different. I think I was about 7 or 8 years old, you know, kind of about the age when other younger girls were like going crazy over Michael Jackson. I just couldn't understand why. And Donny, the Osmonds, it was just like, okay. So I knew because I had these, you know, deep friendships. We're kids at that point in time, right? But my friendships with same gender, nothing sexual, just friendships, tended to be much more emotional than I observed around me. You know, so if they stopped talking to me for some reason, I would be devastated for days, right? But I didn't see that in my other peers of that age. So I knew I was different. And then, of course, as I got older, got into my teenage years, I learnt the word. And when you learn that word, lesbian, you learn it as a shameful thing to be. And so I carried that shameful secret with me up until all the way through medical school, right? And I remember, so I graduated from medical school pretty young. I was 21 when I graduated. I got into medical school at 16. And, you know, the paradox of that, Janine, was that here I was on one hand, you know, being sort of celebrated as this, you know, person who was brilliant enough to get into medical school at a very young age. But I had this shameful secret that I really couldn't share with anyone. So it was really a very sort of confusing place to be. I finished my medical school in Nigeria and went on to do a residency program in internal medicine and also to specialize in cardiology. While I was specializing in cardiology, I was awarded the Chevening Fellowship to the Hammersmith Hospital in the UK for a clinical cardiology fellowship. When I got to the UK, this might be easier for Nigerians to understand. We love to collect qualifications and certifications. So while I was in the UK, I thought, look, I've got the board certification from Nigeria, the National College of Physicians. Here I am at the Hammersmith Hospital doing a clinical cardiology fellowship. I want to get board certified in the UK. So I intentionally leaned into that and got board certified. As part of the preparation process, I worked on an internal medicine and geriatric unit in England. It was actually in Wales. And I developed this interest in older adults. They just saw life very differently. And I thought at that point I wanted to learn more about geriatrics. It was not a specialty in Nigeria at that point in time. And actually, the only country at that point in time where you had formal certification was the United States. And that was what actually brought me to the United States with the intent of completing the fellowship and returning to the UK, because I never wanted to settle in the US. It was interesting, though, that, and I shared this with you when we were chatting earlier, Janine, After I completed the fellowship and applied to sit for the geriatric fellowship exams in the US, I was told that I couldn't do that because neither my Nigerian nor my UK qualifications were recognized. And so it was a choice between going back to the UK without getting what I came for, which was the certification, or doing a residency all over again in the US, which I decided to do because, you know, my mother always told me when you go for something, do it with determination and make sure you succeed. So by the time I'd done that, I actually got recruited back to St. Louis University to join their faculty. And at that point in time, I had 2 dogs. I thought, you know, I'm just going to remain in the US. So that was my journey to the United States.
What a story. What an amazing story. And, you know, I want to get to the part that you are considered now to be in exile in this country. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. When we got, Nigeria has an anti-gay law and an anti-sodomy law and an anti-P
Public display
public
affection.
PDA law, which is for us gay people, if we marry each other, we go to jail for 14 years. For people that are friendly, like doctors and allies, they go to jail for 10 years. And, you know, so when we decided to get married, we wanted to, you know, have a wedding just like Jane and John or, you know, Shukura and Temedu would. And I wanted a traditional wedding. And, you know, we wanted a white wedding. We went all over, remember? We couldn't find vendors to take our event because we were gay. Nigerian DJs, Nigerian caterers, Nigerian, name it, they wouldn't do it. So my family, 26 brothers and sisters, not a single one that I asked, because I didn't ask all of them. By the time I hit 10, I stopped. But none of them would come. So for me, I ended up with, for family, I ended up with friends on Facebook and in real life that stood in as my family. Margaret's, your cousin flew in, Margaret's cousin flew in all the way from the UK. And another friend, King Sonyade's son, stood in for us as well. And, you know, the wedding was amazing. We had it at the Hilton Hotel. We took out the whole space. We had 3 halls. It was amazing, I'm telling you. Fantastic wedding.
What a story.
And then the bullies came out.
Yeah.
You tell that part.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate. I mean, one of the reasons why when we got married, I actually did not tell my family back in Nigeria because I wanted to protect them. We were in the middle of the same-sex gender law, anti-same-sex marriage law. You know, with the whole 10 years for allies, people were getting harassed and beaten. So I intentionally did not tell them, even though my mother and my brother and my nephew are supportive of me. And they've always been supportive of me, regardless of, you know, they've always been, and they continue to be our greatest supporters. Yeah. My mother died last year. So I intentionally did not, in trying to protect them, didn't tell them. It didn't make a difference because after the wedding, I think the party ended at about 12 midnight. Yeah. And so we got back home really exhausted. And at 3 p.m., all hell had broken, 3 a.m. So 3 hours later, all hell had broken loose. Somehow, someone had, I think.
Not someone. One of my so-called Facebook friends that I thought we were close because we talked on the phone and all that, actually leaked the picture, allegedly sold it to a blogger, and it was like crazy. Every Nigerian African newspaper carried us on their front page. Imagine like CNN talking about Moji and Margaret, the Nigerian version. We were on every newspaper, every radio show, every TV show. We were stalked and harassed in New York. We had people parking outside our home in New York, trying to get pictures of us to sell to the bloggers. We couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah, it was horrible.
It was just horrible. So we ended up moving out of New York. But funny enough, you would think, even though Nigeria is allegedly a homophobic country, your mom was our greatest ally. Yeah. Your mom accepted me and our relationship. She actually held her hands together when we went to Nigeria in Cognito in 2017. And she said to Margaret, I give you Moji and I give Moji. Moji, I give,
Wow.
Margaret to you. Never, one of the things that I hold on to every day, even when I like really, really going through it, I hold on to the fact that Mommy said, don't allow the world to break us up. And Mommy died last year, and we couldn't go home.
We couldn't go. And we couldn't go because we were advised, well, we were strongly advised not to come. And I totally agree with that advice because it would be dangerous. The concern was that it would be dangerous to us and potentially life-threatening as well. And that,
to the family
and
as
to the
well.
family as well.
Yeah.
So that was, I think for us, that was one of the most painful experiences. But here's the thing, Janine. One of the things that I know about my mother is that she supported me. Right, my mother, just so you're aware, my mother completed 2 years of grade school. She comes from that generation in Nigeria where education was not for everyone. 2 years. My mother could sign her name, but could not read or write.
Wow.
But she had always supported me. And she always encouraged me to be me. And she had actually told me about a couple of years, she had begun to say, Margaret, if anything happens to me, if I'm sick, don't come. Do not come because these people here will hurt you. So I took comfort from that. I took comfort that my mother would want me to be me, want us to be us and authentic. Yeah. And if anything, that experience has only fueled our determination to be visible.
Yeah.
It's not about Moji and I. Moji and I are in the United States. We're married. We're living our lives. This is about the people who cannot do that.
Yeah.
And either for reasons known to them, don't have the courage to be visible. And I totally understand that because it was a journey for me as well to come out. I came out when I was about 29 in the UK. I understand that. But the reason why I came out, Janine, I'll tell you this. When I got to the UK, I was really confused about, who I was. How on earth could I possibly be a lesbian? I mean, why me? Right? I was in that mode. And I remember one day sitting in a train station and I saw God. Yeah. Not the same God Moji saw. My God showed up. I heard heels coming down the, we were in the subway, right? The tube. So it was coming down the hallway. It was about 7 p.m. in the evening. And I just heard these heels. And they got louder and louder. There were just a few of us. And so eventually I looked up. And I saw this black woman with short hair. Clearly a lesbian. She had on a black pair of jeans. She had on boots. That was what I was hearing. And a leather jacket. And Janine, she held her head up high. And she strutted through the tube station. People were whispering and they were snickering, and she just kept moving. And that, to me, was God.
I got chills.
Because sitting right there, I said, if she can do it, I can do it. So we do this, not just for us, but we do it because we truly believe that visibility is key.
Exactly. And, one of the most amazing things after we got married was a lot of people came out. When I came out, a lot of people came out to me that were Nigerians. But when Margaret and I got together, it gave a lot of Nigerians a view into what is possible. Yeah. And a lot of people are now standing their grounds. When family says get married, they won't do it. And it's important for people to stand up to be seen so that their light can shine the path of others and help them out of their darkness. That's why we do what we do. We have a not-for-profit organization called the African LGBTQ. Our purpose and mission is to empower African LGBTQs through education, through getting them work and things like that. And once you become empowered, and you're that way, you can become self-actualized. As long as you're not depending on anybody to pay your bills, you're not living in your parents' house, you can live your authentic life. You know, so we encourage, I personally, I don't know about you, but I personally tell people coming out before making sure you can afford to pay your way makes no sense. But living an authentic life, everybody should have the right to do that.
Authentic. Wow. You know, and I'm hearing a crackling on my side with my mic. I don't know why. I've tried a few things to make it sound better. Can you understand me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Can you apply for citizenship or permanent residency being in exile?
Yeah, I'm an American citizen.
And I just put in my papers because I was one of those last dinosaurs that did not want to give up their citizenship. I wanted to be a Nigerian. I am so passionate about Nigeria. I didn't want anything to, you know, I didn't want to belong anywhere but Nigeria. But the way the country is anyways, even without the anti-gay law, it's just not a place that's safe for anybody in 2021.
Be a permanent resident.
Yeah, I am a permanent resident, and I've been a permanent resident for many
Well, I want you to know we embrace you guys. We want you.
Thank you.
We don't want you to go back anywhere.
And I think when you use the word exile, it's not, I mean, it's really, I mean, that's what it is, right? If you're in a country and you can't go back, then, you know, you're sort of self-imposed exile. And you can't, it's not about going back because we can go back, you can sort of sneak in and hide away, but
I'm not doing that.
Why would anybody choose to do that? Why would we did that 3 years ago when my mother was ill because it was important. But, you know, I think that in my mind sort of betrays the course. If we cannot go back as who we are, authentic, hold our heads up and be true to ourselves, then anything else is really just being inauthentic.
Yeah. Authenticity is what I preach. So what we preach, what we believe in, it would make no sense to go to a country that doesn't really want us. It would make no sense to spend our money in a country that doesn't want us. And that's part of the protest, you know?
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the country, the village. Tell us about your village. I talk about the 40 acres in a motel. Tell us about the village.
Instead of a meal, it's 40 acres and a meal. We have 40 acres and a cow and a dog. I'm very passionate about Nigeria. I love the country. I love the culture. I don't like the cities. I like the villages because that's what I grew up with. That authentic Nigerian, African hospitality where people they might not be able to eat 3 square meals and they still offer you to join them for one of those meals. So we were looking for a weekend home and we ran across this and we decided to build our own village if we can't go home, but we will build a village, an African village in the heart of Texas where everybody, regardless of race, regardless of gender, regardless of sexuality, everybody can come and have a good time and relax. We have a 3-acre lake. We have an event center for weddings and, you know, birthday parties and whatever it is that they want to do. Yeah.
And I think it's important to mention that we didn't just sort of buy a ranch to do this. I think it was and it was coming in.
Yeah.
When we got here, it just felt like Africa.
I started sobbing.
And that's when we started the discussion. Yeah.
When we drove into the property, my hair stood up and I just started crying because the roads reminded us of Africa. Yeah. The mud streets, the little shack houses with we did a lot of renovations, but it just looked like a village. It looked like my village. And we just started, I was crying like that ugly Oprah cry. I was just like booing. And it's been amazing.
I still have the video.
Oh God. Don't you ever feel that. But yeah.
Well, I have going up at the bottom of the screen, Solar-Wilson Village, because I want folks to Google search it and see, I'm coming. I'm going to make reservations and I have both of my shots, my vaccines. So I'm looking at maybe May. that I like to come down to Texas and spend a few days down there. And you have several other people who are looking at this show right now. They're like, we're going, we want to meet them. And we want everyone to meet the two of you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I mean, the goal here is really to, not only does it, so it does actually feel like Africa, but the goal here is to be inclusive of everyone, everyone, regardless. This is a safe space for everyone. Yeah. And we really seek to give everyone a taste of traditional, historical African hospitality. Yeah. So we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah. And we're pet friendly, dog friendly, I should say. We created a whole 5-studio cabin for people with dogs, because every time we tried to go away, we could hardly find hotels and Airbnbs that would take our dog. So we have 5 bedrooms for pets, 5 studios for pets, and the other cabins are not pet friendly because some people are allergic and things like that.
Well, you haven't met my Jackson, so I'm glad to know that you're pet friendly, because he and I have never been separated. So, is there something you would like to close by saying to those who are watching you? I'm watching words come up on the screen such as courageous, our heroes, authentic. Anything you want to say to the viewers before we end our fireside chat today?
Everybody has a right to live their authentic life. They have a right to be safe, to love freely, and to love a consenting adult. I think in 2021, inclusion and diversity is very important, but diversity without inclusion is nothing, because laws can be created as long as everybody does not have a seat at the table and have the space to voice their opinions and to be their authentic selves and bring their authentic selves to the table. There's no diversity. So inclusion without diversity without inclusion is nothing.
I couldn't agree with you more. We're both really passionate about inclusion and diversity. So to add to what you said, here's what I'd like to say to everyone listening. Because I think, Janine, you said you were watching the text come up and someone said something about heroes and stuff. Here's what I'd like to say. I have a favorite quote, and that quote is, "If I have seen further, it is because I stand on the shoulders of giants." Mm. We are all someone's giant.
Yeah.
And what I want to encourage us all to do is remember that. And this is not about coming out of the closet or anything. This is just about recognizing that it's going to take all of us. We are all someone's giant. And we're either the giant whose shoulders have been stood up on, or we are the person who's standing on someone else's shoulders. So collectively, as long as we're supportive of each other, I think we will make progress across the globe.
I love you two so much. This has been a wonderful interview. I want to have you come on again. We're going to figure out the mics next time we come on, because I heard sounds on both ends, and I don't know why we had that. But the point got across. You two are just absolutely beautiful. I still can't believe your ages. Do you tell your ages?
I tell my age all the time. I'm 56 years old. I have no shame.
And I'm 3 years older than you.
I still can't believe your ages. When you told me your ages, and even when I saw your videos, I said, oh, wow, 30, 40-year-olds. And when you told me your ages, I said, Jesus, I want to eat what you're eating. Thank you so much for coming on.
Amazing yourself.
Thank you for an old fart, right? Thank you so much. 71 in June, Lord willing. So there you have it. Margaret and Moji, thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of this country.
Thank you.
And this was It's a huge step that you're telling your story. Thank you for telling your story. We love you.
Thank you for having us. Much respect.
Namaste.
So, folks, there you have it. Yes, we have a lot of people saying it's beautiful, and it really is beautiful. I try not to tear up on my own show, but it's really hard not to with this particular couple. We love them. Remember, love is love. And the question again, what would you risk it all for? They did it, and they got so much back. Thank you for spending this last 45 minutes with us today. Bye.